The Carolina Panthers fall to the Denver Broncos 28-14. It's safe to say the season is over. Folks, I don't know where to start with this one, and maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's not. I could probably sit here for 10 seconds and just sit in silence to reflect on what we just saw on the field. If things could get bad, they get worse. This team is putting us through straight up misery. It is week after week. The apathy is here. Panthers fans do not want to tune in. I don't blame them. Broncos win in blowout fashion, and half of them were even in the stadium at the end of the game. That's how bad it was. I will say hats off to the Broncos doing what they were supposed to do. Bo Nix looking like Tom Brady. That's expected when you play the Carolina Panthers. When you play the team as bad as we are on defense, we make any and every quarterback, plus their receivers, maybe even their running backs, look top-notch. Broncos made some plays. That one catch, was it the touchdown into the end zone, one-handed over Trevin Wallace? Hey, guess it's a good thing to have your rookie linebacker one-on-one with no safety help over the top going down the seam. Maybe that's the play call that we should have. I don't have answers. I have lots of questions. I think my list of questions continues to grow when we talk about this game. Bryce Young back in the lineup. Got to see him. We saw a lot of mistakes. A lot of mistakes that have carried over and have been here. One, pre-snap, I don't know what it is. Doesn't matter who's calling the plays, who's running the offense, who's giving the play calls to him. He cannot get a play call off. It continues to happen. How can a guy who scored whatever he scored on his S2, it can spit back the play calls to the coaches, not be able to rattle off a play? We didn't have this problem with Andy Dalton. We have continued to have this problem with Bryce Young. Pre-snap, delay of game, or calling a timeout. Burning your timeouts because your quarterback just can't get to the line. Looking at his performance, we also saw just miscommunication. There were a few snaps where he's trying to hand it off to one side, Chuba Hubbard's on the other. We see the interception, at least the first one, where maybe there's just something off there with him and Tommy Tremble. I will say the last interception that he threw, I'm not going to really pin that one on him as much, even though the ball was pinned on the defender. That one was a really good play by the defense. And what I like to say is, hey, this is episode 1259 of plays that players make against the Panthers that they will never make against any other team. If they're going to make a play, whatever it is, if a ball pops off, pops up, moves around, it's going to fall their way. It is. And that's what we saw. That was a heck of a play. I will tell you, hats off to the Denver Broncos doing what they were supposed to do, getting the win. As a Panthers fan, I don't know what to tell you. 1-7. The season's over. Not that you needed me to tell you the season was over. The season has been over. It's just like, where do we go from here? Hey, we may have a chance next week against the New Orleans Saints. That's always a possibility. They're rattling, literally rattling with Rattler, and their team is in shambles as well. But I just don't know. And I think I saw Josh Graham tweet out the positives for this team right now, and that ties to Xavier Legette, who, hey, he made some plays, and Jalen Coker. Two stud rookie wide receivers, one undrafted, one drafted in the first round. Hey, hit on those undrafted free agents. That's big for this Carolina Panthers team. But the bigger question is, who is the quarterback? Who is the quarterback of the future that's going to be throwing to them? Because the writing's on the wall, I don't think it's Bryce Young. The clock is ticking for when his time for, when he's in Carolina is going to be gone. Shipped off, moved, traded. There's no way he stays. I think Dave Canales saw what he saw. He was very conservative in his play calling. I mean, you have Miles Sanders leading the way in receptions. 7 receptions. That tells you exactly what Dave Canales thinks about Bryce Young, what he thought about Bryce Young. He would not let Bryce Young dial up anything to take a shot downfield. There were numerous occasions where the Denver Broncos had 9, 10 guys in the box. That's easy to stop the run. It's easy to maintain and keep. Their defensive front was freaking good great, fantastic. I had not really seen a lot of them. Their defensive front got after it. And our offensive line did more than enough. There was a few plays where I watched Bryce Young drop back. I'm not a quarterback. I've never coached the quarterback position, but I've seen a lot of quarterbacks play. And I think we've all watched a lot of quarterbacks play. His little mini shuffle, the way he gets to his drop, he's just back there backpedaling in slow motion. Like, I know guys are taught to drive back as quickly as possible, get to the spot, have your read and throw the ball. There's a lot. I don't know that Bryce is an NFL quarterback. I really don't. And I keep saying I'd love to be proven wrong, but I just don't think it. I mean, the guy, even when available, even when given the opportunity to make a throw downfield, he doesn't take it. He is always check down Charlie. That's not going to win you any games. I think if you removed where he was drafted, which I've talked about numerous times, if you take away his draft position at number 1 overall, if he was just on an NFL roster, you didn't know where he was drafted, maybe you were blindfolded and came in and like, hey, had no idea, you would sit back and say, okay, this guy is not an NFL quarterback. Why is he starting? Why is he on an NFL roster? And I hate it. I really do, because now the Panthers are going to have to figure out quarterback. And I know I've talked a lot about defense. Defense is a whole nother topic, but they got to find a quarterback for next year. I don't think it, maybe it's bits and pieces of Andy Dalton, but I think if we really want to win football games, that little honeymoon that we had with him is gone. The big question is Andy going to be healthy enough to come back next week? And maybe he is. Maybe Bryce Young gets one more chance against a bad New Orleans team. And then, of course, traveling over to Germany to take on the Giants. And then, coming out of the bye, we know it's a very tough stretch of 7 games to close out the end of the year. But at 1-7, I don't know what we're playing for. I don't know what you're playing for by putting in Andy. But also at the same time, I could say, like, well, why are we playing Bryce? But I do think you got to get your shot. If Bryce Young is on the team, let him play. The rest of the way, Andy Dalton, like, sure, if you want to bring him back, you know what you got in him, but let Andy play. Heck, at this point, throw in Plummer. I mean, I was waiting for folks, and we kind of joked about it with some of the tweets during the show, and I said, during the game, I said, when are we going to hear people asking for Plummer? When's it going to happen? When are people going to chime in and say, I want to see Plummer? It's rough. It is so hard being a Carolina Panthers fan. It is. That is part of the reason, not to plug too many things, but to plug in my additional content. If you follow on YouTube, we've got some ACC football talk coming, some college football. It's happening. I know maybe that's a golden rule you don't break with merging over different content, but I am. It is what it is. That's how the state of being a Panthers fan is right now. Speaking state of a Panthers fan, I cannot stand Sean Payton. Denver Broncos fans, this is nothing on y'all. I hate Sean Payton. I absolutely despise that guy. I can't believe there was a time where the Panthers were considering bringing him in as our coach. I can't stand the dude. He's a freaking douche. Going up, throwing the ball the way that he was, going for fakes. I mean, I can't stand him. It goes back to our time. Again, this is not a knock on you Denver fans. This is the New Orleans Saints days. We have seen this for years. That's who he is. Bountygate, all those things, everything that you think of him as a slimy NFL head coach, that's what he is. He's finding a way to win, though. He's finding a way to win. On the broadcast, they said, oh, you got to stop it. You got to, force them to stop it. We get the fumble at the end. I'm not a fan of them throwing the ball. I mean, it was pointless. You could have ran. You could have easily ran and got all those yards against us. You're back there slinging the ball, having fun at practice. Just, I don't know. And like the players, they can't control what the coach says. Coach wants you to throw the ball. You're going to throw the ball. If that's the plays you want to run, that's what you want to run. But stop me if you've heard this before. Panthers come out, one, forcing a fumble on the opening drive, a turnover, and then the Panthers go up. I wish I had it in front of me. I feel like the Panthers have led in the first quarter 7-0, like 4 out of at least 50% of the games this year. They've had the lead 7-0, and it's not a field goal, 7-0. And then all things fall apart. They're either leading 7-0 or they have a really good opening drive. A lot of teams can't do that, but they do it. They take advantage. 12 plays, 59 yards, touchdown to Xavier Legette. Man, he looked good. Ball was placed behind Bryce, threw it behind Xavier, but Xavier made a really good play, and it felt like something was going to happen. Then we go off of that. We force a punt. So you're like, okay, we're playing with the lead. Team's doing well. That was a really solid punt. I mean, they punted the ball down to the inside the one. There was only so much we could do. Once you flip the field position, it gets hard. Once that happened, all things just crumbled on this team. We saw the first touchdown for Denver, but at that point it's tied. So you're like, okay, well, let's put a drive together. 6 plays, 11 yards, 2.5 minutes off the clock. Then we go have a touchdown scored by Denver, a turnover on downs. 6 plays, 18 yards. Not good at all. And that was the turnover on downs. It was 4th and 2 at the Carolina 49. I don't mind going for it. It was like a read option to Chuba Hubbard where they could have handed it off inside. Chuba Hubbard would have had the first. It was wide open. I mean, or at least it was open enough to get the first down. Bryce Young pulls it, throws it to Miles Sanders behind the line of scrimmage, and we lose a yard. Turnover on downs. It was 14-7 at that point. You give them the ball at midfield. They go 12 plays, 44 yards, 3.5 minutes off the clock, and it's a touchdown. I mean, you can... I don't know, man. I'm out of words. I'm at a loss for words for this team. Followed up with a punt, and then that was the end of the half. So you go down 21-7. We come out. Hey, Bryce Young, I can't remember. I was listening on the radio broadcast, and Bryce said he talked to the offense like we're this close. You come out, have a 5-play, -1 yard drive, or you get sacked. You miss on some pass attempts, and that's all it takes. After that point, it's really over. I mean, so then we have a punt, the turnover on downs with the fake punt. I'm just like, are we just giving up? Like really giving up on the season to go for it where we went for it? Like that was in our territory, and we make a decision to go for it and give them the ball with such a short field. I mean, they started on our 23-yard line. That was it. Took a minute and a half for them to score. It was close. I mean, Sam Franklin, Johnny Hecker, they were right there. I mean, if they connected, it would have been nice. But, I mean, why are we playing games? Why are you playing these type of games right now and not taking the quarterback position seriously? I'm truly at a loss for the state of this franchise. So they score. Then we have the Bryce Young interception. It had a 10-play, 40-yard drive. And I mean, it was 28-7. So I don't think we were really worried or thought that we were coming back. You just wanted to see some good football or better football. Have the punt, another punt, turnover on downs. That's when they went for it. An interception. Again, that was a great play. I mean, this, I hate to say it, could be a little bit different game when you look at it. If you get one of these stops along the way, if you don't turn the ball over, you beat yourselves, you're not going to win many games. You put yourself out of position to win the football game, you're not going to win. When you make those mistakes, turn the ball over, you can't do it. You force turnovers, good things happen. But that interception on the goal line could have been 14-7 then. Maybe, I don't know. You have the fumble down at the goal line, basically for Denver, close to it. We get the ball, we go on 11-play, 83-yard drive. Score the touchdown. 11 plays, 83 yards. That was how much we accumulated. We did have the roughing the passer penalty built in there. I was adding up the numbers in my head, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Missing a few yards. So it's 14-28, game's over. What I found interesting is earlier this week, Tracy Smith, the special teams coordinator, in his presser was asked about a situation to go for an onside kick in just to practice it, because we haven't declared, we haven't done that before. And in the presser this week, he said, oh yeah, I would not go for it in a situation, or like we wouldn't attempt it, like talking about the Washington game because it was such a blowout. They wouldn't attempt it in a situation where it was meaningless. So they wanted to have, hey, It's close. We should go for it. And they're down 2 touchdowns with like 18 seconds left. It was 18 seconds left, and they decided to go for it. Down 2 touchdowns. I'm like, that's you just practicing it. I think it might have been Joe Person or David Dude. I don't know which. One of those guys triggered this idea for them to attempt this, and that's what happened. I don't know. That was your ball game. Let's go back. So how many drives did the Panthers have of more than 6 plays? I don't know that I would call 6 plays. I mean, really, I would say 8 plays is a successful drive, but we'll go with 6. So one drive with 6 plays, so we'll count it. Another 6-play drive, but that was a turnover on downs. A punt with 6 plays, so 3 interceptions there, 4. So 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It's about a little less than half had 6 or more plays. It is a tough time being a Panthers fan. Let's take a look at the box score. Coming into this, we knew it was going to be a tough task for Carolina and Bryce Young. You're missing Adam Thielen. You're missing Deontay Johnson. I will tell you, based on where this team is, anyone and everyone should be available for a trade. I think maybe a few players are protected, but almost everyone, you open up the book. Open up the book. I listened to Adam Gold a few weeks ago. He said, just name your price. Like, open it up. Let people see what they want to pay and get what you can get. And that's the state that we are. But we had David Moore starting, Xavier Legette, and that was the lineup. I was looking at the personnel. They put 2 running backs in the starting lineup with Chuba Hubbard and Miles Sanders, so a little different on the personnel front. Tommy Tremble, Taylor Moton, Hunt, Brady Christensen, Damian Lewis, Ike Ekwonu. Oh, man. It's tough. Deontay Johnson, again, I think he's gone. We're coming up on a week away from the trade deadline and a week to vote. Again, I don't care who you vote for, but go out and vote. It's important. Civic duty. People fought for our freedom to be able to do this. Box scores. Chuba Hubbard, 15 carries, 56 yards, 3.7. Probably one of his worst days on the year as far as yards per carry. Miles Sanders had that one nice run for the first down, 1 for 7. Bryce Young, 3 for 6. The first frustrating thing about Bryce Young, he scrambles, he is impatient, he gets worried, he gets antsy, he moves out of the pocket, he tries to roll out, and then nothing's there, he throws the ball away. At some point, I just wanted to see him open it up a little. He did take some shots downfield. The very last drive where they scored, they started to make some plays, but I'm like, they're playing prevent defense. They don't really care at this point. Speaking of Denver, I would like to see that a little bit earlier. Like I said, Miles Sanders leading receptions. 7 receptions, 38 yards, led the team. Coker led in yardage, 4 for 78, and I believe, I don't have the math in front of me, but he's got to be close to passing Xavier Legette in receiving yards on the season. Undrafted free agent. Big hit. David Moore, 4 for 39. Like I said, Xavier, 4 for 34. Chuba Hubbard, 2 for 15. Tommy Tremble, 2 for 13. Jadavian Sanders, 1 for 7. Coker and Xavier, your 2 rookies, with the touchdowns. Speaking of Hecker, he had 5 punts, 49.4 yard average, 1 inside the 20. Not a lot happening in the return game, so we aren't going to talk about that. On the Broncos side of the ball, they put up 102 yards, so a little bit better than what it has been. 102 yards on the ground. You had 8 attempts for 47 yards for McLaughlin. Williams with 17 for 44. Former Tar Heel, 2.6 per carry. A lot slower. Nix only had 5 for 4. Like, we kept Nix in check compared to last week when he put up 75 yards, and he was on pace, I think, for 4 weeks in a row with 60 plus or 50 plus. It's a positive, but he killed us in the air. 28 of 37. Guys were always wide open. 284 yards, 3 touchdowns, 124.2 rating. Then you have Sutton, Cortland Sutton, they're calling up trick plays. That's why I hate Sean Payton. 1 for 1 for 28 yards, and then Dixon had 1 for 3 yards as well. Going for fakes. I thought Sutton, I think he had 90, a little over 90 yards or close to 90 in the first half, but he finished 8 receptions, 100 yards, no touchdowns. Charlton, the tight end, 4 for 85 and a touchdown. Humphrey, 4 for 22. And then a ton of other guys there. Troy Franklin, who rookie wide receiver that we followed or I followed on the show, only had 1 for 6. Patrick Surtain, 1 interception, and McMillan also had 1 as well, of course, which was the touchback. Let's see if we can look at the team stats. 16 to 23 first downs in favor of the Broncos. Third down efficiency, we were 5 for 14, 35%. Can't win a lot. And on the defensive side, 11 for 17. Broncos, 64%. Fourth down efficiency, we went for it on fourth down 4 times. Converted once. Like, you play the numbers game and you try to go through these analytics and pull some things out. You got to be able to hit on some of these. But total net yards, 400 to 284, of course, in the Broncos' favor. We talked about rushing, put up 69 total yards. They eclipsed 102. Passing, yeah, not a good day. Bryce, though, 76.9 rating, 224 yards, like we said. He was sacked twice. That was the other thing. We had 2 sacks today on the defensive side of the ball. We haven't seen sacks. We haven't seen plays like this. It's tough. It is a tough time right now, folks. I hope you have other hobbies. I hope you have other teams, other sports, anything besides Panthers football that you can focus on. Average starting field possession, they have an 11-yard advantage. We started on our 25. Their average was their 36. Time of possession was in favor of the Broncos, 33 minutes to our 26. It was pretty balanced in the first quarter. Second quarter flipped to them. Third quarter was in our favor, and then the fourth quarter was dominated by them as well. On the defensive side of the ball, Damani Richardson, he got the call, got the start. Had 11 combined tackles. He was making a lot of plays, thumping pads. Really like what we saw there. I know Ricky Reigns of I want to say the Bo Body Show, but Panthers on Tap, he called that out. Mike Jackson, 10 combined tackles as well. Josie Jewell, good to have him back. Like, that veteran presence really did help. I think it was a big reason we did make a few more plays than we had. Good game from Shai Tuttle. We saw some peanut punches. Shai Tuttle with the peanut punch. Trevin Wallace with the peanut punch on the goal line. I like the effort. Jadeveon Clowney, 7 tackles, 1 tackle for loss. A'Shawn Robinson with 5. And then, again, a bunch of other guys. I'm not going to go through the entire list, but you can find it if you want it. Your 2 sacks, where did it go? I'm going to tell you. Oh, A'Shawn Robinson credited with both of the sacks. Not bad at all. Defense for the Broncos, Jones had led the way with 12 tackles. Strand had 7, Cooper 5, Moss 5. Let's see, sacks. Cooper had 1 and Bonito had 1. Again, they had 2. They had 6 tackles for loss. Big deal. Panthers had 5. Well, I guess, I forget you get to count sacks in that mix too. So I was like, oh, that's not that bad. Playing a little bit of defense, but not really. Yeah, in the first half, Sutton had 93 yards receiving. He was just wide open, man. And it felt like a lot of the same schemes and plays that Caleb Williams ran a few weeks ago. Every quarterback that plays the Panthers could just stand back there all freaking day. Do whatever they want. It's just, I don't know. I do not. So where in the world do we go from here as a franchise? It is a complete, what is there to rebuild? We don't even have a foundation. You got to have a foundation to do a rebuild. Like, I think a lot of people would have said coming into this year that we were in a rebuild mode, but we've already got a good foundation. Folks, we are like destroying everything. We don't have anything. We don't even have plans drawn up. That's how far off we are. No plans put together for the future of this franchise and what it could be. It's very tough. Again, I like to say, I think we should go with defense. We need to invest heavily on the defensive side of the ball. We just can't keep playing with this. The way this roster is constructed, we need to get younger. There's no denying that. I do think veteran presence is good, but we really need young talent that can develop and make plays. It's a tough road ahead. And it sucks that we are spending most of our third and fourth quarters hearing the broadcast and other folks talk about the moral victories that we're trying to build and how we're just trying to figure out winning. I don't understand how you can have a team that is like consistently this bad. I don't think if you tried to lose like this, it could happen. Like, it would be difficult to try to consistently lose the way that the Panthers lose games. I mean, I don't know how you could set it up to put us in the position that we are. Unfortunate with some of the injuries that popped up as well, not just like today, but across the whole season. I know that's a big part of where we are, and maybe next year it's a little bit better, but it's tough sledding, man. I really look at a potential playmaker like a Travis Hunter and what he could do. There's going to be a lot of talk about Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders. I think for me, it's going to be pivoting into some of that draft talk. I say unfortunately because the season is over. I'm going to get a head start of it this year so that I'm more prepared. And as I branch off and I have the college football stuff running on the channel anyways, if you watch it, like, it makes sense to just go ahead and let's start talking about what we know is going to happen. Panthers with the top 5 pick, more than likely. I thought this might be a day for upsets. You go out and look at Cleveland upsetting the Ravens. Talk about finishes. I don't know how many people watched that Washington game. We watched it, got to see it live. What a play. Hail Mary there at the end. You know, I really don't go around the league too often on this show. But hey, why not? We're closing out the show. Kansas City 27-20 over Vegas. Washington again with the upset. Buffalo. Chargers knocked off the Saints. Philadelphia looked good over the Bengals. Atlanta 31. Tampa 26. Another division game. Patriots squeaked by. Jets. That's the thing, man. A lot of people hyped up the Jets, and I was in that camp. I wasn't there, but a lot of people hyped up the Jets joint practice and the Panthers dominating them. It all makes sense now. You see how bad the Jets are. 2 wins to our 1, and no answers there as well. Arizona, heartbreaker over Miami with the field goal at the end. Green Bay continues to look good. Houston continues to find ways to win. Detroit is one of the best teams in football, demolishing Tennessee 52-14. Cleveland 29, like I said, 24. Rams knocked off Minnesota. That was the other night, Thursday Night Football. So, hey, man, it's getting there. I don't know where it's going, but it's slowly going to get there. Maybe. I'm so tired of rookie quarterbacks looking like Tom Brady against the Carolina Panthers in our defense. Like, that's how bad we are, and that's how far we have fallen. Anyways, folks, that's going to do it for today's episode. This is Carolina Dad. Y'all have a good one.